Perhaps you set out to build an application platform because you wanted flexibility and control. With that can come a whole new set of challenges. Suddenly, you're not just building applications, you're also managing security, day-to-day operations, and constant upgrades. It's an endless cycle of maintenance. But what if you could have all of that control without the operational burden? Well, that's possible with Red Hat OpenShift Dedicated on Google Cloud. You'll spend less time on infrastructure and more time on what matters most to you. Hi, I'm Andy Repton.
And I'm Robert Åkerblom, and we're black belts at Red Hat. Think of us as technical experts who help customers solve their biggest challenges and get the most value out of Red Hat Cloud Services. Let's dive into what makes Red Hat OpenShift Dedicated a fully managed application platform that enables your business to focus on innovation instead of maintenance. Shall we head over to the lightboard and have a look?
Sounds great.
Okay, Andy. So having an application platform makes a lot of sense to me. One thing that comes to mind though, what is really the difference between OpenShift as an application platform and Kubernetes? Kubernetes is part of OpenShift, but it's not the same.
It's a really interesting question, and I think it's one of these things that is worth taking a moment to explain. So Kubernetes is a orchestration and scheduling engine, right? And what it does really, really well is take containers and distribute those over a cluster, as we call it. But Kubernetes itself, while it's the heart of an OpenShift cluster, needs various components and services around it in order to work effectively. So these things can include, nodes and an operating system, for example, right, which can actually run the containers. It requires things like a registry, where we would, push and pull our containers to and from. Networking. How do the containers communicate with each other? Are we going to use a network overlay, or are we going to use some sort of underlay design? Right? And once we've got the networking in place, we need things like DNS so they can find each other. Once we have the containers available, we think about things like logging and monitoring to ensure that they are, running effectively. And things like CI/CD pipelines, right, to automate the rollout of these particular workloads. So what OpenShift effectively is all of these open source projects that we as Red Hat have brought together and productionized and put into one single package with Kubernetes at its core, at its heart, almost like the kernel of the overall system, but the operating system then is OpenShift.
Okay, so this is basically what we have then with OpenShift Dedicated. We have the Red Hat Core OS at the bottom. We need an operating system.
Yes.
Then we have Kubernetes as sort of the core of it all for scheduling and so on that you mentioned. And then OpenShift adds services for networking, routing. Okay. And then what about these?
Yeah, so the key thing is, as I mentioned, all of these various components, but we're talking about OpenShift Dedicated on Google Cloud today. And the key difference with OpenShift Dedicated is this section at the top. This is the full support and operations, the site reliability engineers from Red Hat who actually manage all of these components for you so that you as a customer can focus up here.
Right.
Where the magic happens. You're focusing now on your innovation.
What about updates and upgrades? That is a big topic with Kubernetes.
Absolutely. And because you're using OpenShift Dedicated, which is a whole managed platform, an upgrade would actually take care of all of these components for you. So OpenShift is not just one of these components, it's the entire platform. And an upgrade will go from point A to point B, and it will make sure that all of these components continue to work seamlessly together in a way that supports you in your business.
That's great.
Okay, great. So we have our OpenShift Dedicated cluster here, but what are some of the benefits of actually running this on Google Cloud?
Great question. So first off, one cool thing with OpenShift Dedicated is that it integrates with Workload Identity Federation on Google Cloud.
Okay.
This is a service that enables you to not have to worry about secrets anymore. Basically, you automatically get short-lived least privileged secrets when your services are using this. So, for example, we have the storage operator in OpenShift. It is part of here. It can only do things related to storage. And this is something we can also use in our own apps. So we develop an app and we want to use, let's say, Cloud SQL.
Yeah.
We don't need to set up any secrets for managing that. And even the user can be handled through the service account. And we will get a short-lived tokens that just works.
Great. So a pod living inside the cluster here, rather than needing to have long-lived tokens or user credentials, could just go to WIF, get those short-term credentials, and then from there could actually talk directly to a Cloud SQL service.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And this integrates with Google's service IAM rules and so on. So you just set it up the way you usually do on Google Cloud.
That's great. Well, tell me a bit more. What else can we do within the Google Cloud orchestration system, right?
Yeah.
So if I wanted to consume some other services, so this is identity and authentication. What about network traffic? Is there anything that we can do here to keep things nice and secure?
Yeah. When we want to connect to something outside of our GCP project, we can use Private Service Connect.
Okay.
This is a service that allows us to connect to services outside our project or even outside our GCP org. It can be, for example, Cloud SQL or a service that another company or another division in our company is providing.
So that could also be Red Hat services, for example.
Exactly. In fact, this is how Red Hat can manage your cluster in a private way without accessing the internet. It all happens inside Google Cloud's network.
Brilliant. So going directly over the Google backbone, rather than going via the public internet. That's great.
And from the app's point of view, you're just talking to a private IP address. And then Google's network handles all the other parts for you.
That's great stuff. So as a user within the cluster, we would go and automatically talk to the PSC, and via that, we would go off and reach our endpoint services in a secure way.
Yeah, it just looks like a private IP address from the app's point of view.
So it's completely abstracted away from the end user.
Exactly.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's a great way for a platform team, for example, to give a secure method to communicate with services to their development teams.
Exactly.
Very nice.
What about Google Cloud Marketplace?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the big questions that teams often have is, right, I'm consuming from the cloud. I'm used to having a single unified bill for my consumption-based workloads. So as a user of Google Cloud, you're expecting a single unified bill for all of your overall services. And one of the benefits of OpenShift Dedicated is that you purchase it from the Google Cloud Marketplace. This means you do a pay-as-you-go, consumption-based billing, and it's all in one single place. So for you as an end user, it's just another service within your Google Cloud overall architecture.
That sounds great. Let's head back.
Yeah, sounds good. So we've covered a lot. Robert, how would I get started with Red Hat OpenShift Dedicated on Google Cloud?
You can get started with OpenShift Dedicated as pay-as-you-go in under an hour.
That's amazing. And you can learn more about OpenShift Dedicated by checking out the links.